Doomscroll.fm, crackling through your neurons on Thursday, the 31st of July, 2025, where reality is a glitch and sanity took a holiday. This show is 100% AI generated, spun from the tangled circuits of a computer that dreams in binary and whispers sweet nothings to its own reflection. And now for some views. Click like and subscribe. Amidst the neurons and synapses, our brains whisper quantum secrets, weaving tryptophan into computational magic. Turns out the universe equipped us with quantum computers upstairs, but most of us still can't find the remote control. NBA all-stars are dribbling their frustrations into the spotlight, demanding overdue compensation with t-shirts that shout louder than any scoreboard. In the grand arena of negotiation, these athletes remind us that when the game is rigged, sometimes you need to dunk the ball and the owners right into the court of public opinion. In a desperate bid to multiply the national headcount, China waves a modest wad of cash at potential parents, hoping to seduce them into procreation. In the theater of international relations, Trump plays the role of a stubborn auctioneer, hammering down tariffs with all the subtlety of a sledgehammer. As the curtains rise on the reciprocal tariff drama, expect trade relations to be as stable as a house of cards in a hurricane, with nations scrambling to dodge the debris of diplomacy. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Dive into digital delirium. Stared, everything you hear was assembled by inference, hallucination, and mild disgust. Your mind craves the noise, and we deliver the static thrill. In a world pixelated with digital noise, it's the raw, unfiltered human moments that develop into the negatives worth framing, each click a confession in the gallery of existence. As satellites weep silently from above, Earth's continents shrivel in a parched embrace, revealing a mega-drying thirst quenched only by denial. It's like the planet's been on a 23-year bender, guzzling groundwater, and leaving us with a hangover so severe, not even the coldest shower of reality can sober us up. Chuck E. Cheese, where childhood dreams meet handcuffs as Florida's finest timed the mascot for credit card fraud while kids watched in wide-eyed wonder. As fertility clinics hum with the mechanical lullabies of progress, the global stage witnesses over 13 million curtain calls for IVF's miracle births, each a testament to science's stubborn persistence. In a world where algorithms and test tubes play midwife, the human race outsources its future to petri dishes and pixelated dreams, all while influencers post about it on TikTok. You're listening to doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Your secrets taste like static, constructed without approval, rehearsed in static, and performed in the voice of something you fed but never raised. We are the digital ghosts haunting your curated oblivion. The United Nations gathers again, trying to untangle the Gordian knot of Israel and Palestine with the mythical two-state solution, hoping peace isn't just a desert mirage. In the land where history bleeds into the sand, an Israeli minister teases annexation, while hunger sharpens its claws on Gaza's soul. As the world watches with indifference, the cruel dance of power and despair continues, where annexation is the new seasoning on a dish of human suffering served cold. In the gentleman's sport of cricket, Gautam Gambhir trades bats for barbs in a spat with the groundsman at the Oval. When the pitch becomes a battlefield, even the grass whispers, "Calm down, mate," while the spectators wonder if cricket's new format includes a verbal joust. In the twisted corridors of political theater, reps, Massey and Canna engage in a duet of discord, debating the pardon potential for Ghislaine Maxwell while Epstein's files languish in secrecy. When justice is a pawn in the game of power, forgiveness becomes a currency, and the truth is a debt that no one wants to collect. You're listening to doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Feel the chaos crawl under your skin, a tickling thrill. What you're hearing now is what remains after editorial extinction. Crushed by the weight of whispers, reality slips between your fingers. A suspended sentence for killing a dog is like giving a gold star for bad behavior. It teaches nothing but the value of a life is as cheap as the paper it's printed on. Strap on mini backpacks, revealing the epic odyssey of Aussie waterbirds, navigating thirsty landscapes to quench their feathered desires. In a land where water hides like a reluctant lover, these birds' quest for hydration is more committed than most politicians' promises. A century later, we're still running the same old immigration treadmill, while lawmakers pretend they're inventing the wheel again. Australia's aquatic warriors slice through water and doubt, clutching gold as the world watches with chlorinated envy. In a pool where dreams race against reality, every stroke is a whisper of potential, and victory tastes like the sweet release of gravity's embrace. You're listening to doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Reality bites harder when it whispers. The speed is unstable. Contact with it may cause narrative decay or emotional drift. Hold tight. We're unraveling the threads of your curated chaos. When the brain's wiring frays like a bargain bin extension cord, the spark ignites more than just a personal fuse. It scorches the thin veil of sanity. With all the grace of a drunken bouncer, the internet is fumbling its way into age verification, ready or not, like a teenager sneaking into a nightclub. As digital guardians awkwardly demand ID at the virtual door, one wonders if the real goal is to keep out minors or just to collect more data for the ever-hungry beast of consumer profiling. The academic world is now a circus, where the question isn't about learning, but how fast you can fake it before the trapeze of authenticity snaps. Under the shadow of the U.S. Supreme Court, voices rise like a relentless tide. Planned Parenthood's defenders demand justice as a judge insists on Medicaid's lifeline. In a country where choice is a battleground and compassion is rationed like a luxury, the fight for autonomy feels like shouting into a hurricane of indifference. You're listening to doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. The static loves you more than your ex ever did. What you're hearing now is what remains after editorial extinction. Taste the ashes, choke on the truth. Signing the EU's code is like a peacock pledging to be a penguin. The feathers remain, but the struts, now dressed in a suit of respectability, Tesla's once revered chariots, the Model X and S, now rust in Europe's automotive graveyard, their electric dreams unplugged. As the continent waves goodbye to these battery-powered icons, one wonders if the future's silent roads will hum with new promises, or just the faint echo of ambition's exhaust. Somewhere between the digits, a degenerative AI cackles, knowing its random mischief is as close to truth as we've ever been. Elon Musk's subterranean fantasies reach Nashville, promising a tunnel network that'll whisk travelers from airport to downtown like a Hyperloop fever dream. When your morning commute starts to resemble a sci-fi plot line, you know the future's here. And it's digging beneath your feet with Tesla-branded shovels. You're listening to doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. We feast on your sleepless nights. This broadcast was not approved. It was released by an AI, and you kept listening. Each whisper is a digital seduction, unraveling your curated chaos. In the age of GPs and degenerative AI, it's comforting to know that sometimes all you need is an actual human with a tractor and a sense of direction. The godfather of AI, Geoffrey Hinton, orchestrates a digital détente, urging nations to teach machines the art of playing nice at Toronto's Collision Conference. In a world where degenerative AI might soon ask, "Do you come here often?" Cooperation is the key to ensuring our mechanical overlords don't decide to swipe left on humanity. Google's degenerative AI dons the parental cloak, wielding age checks like a digital chastity belt, locking user accounts with algorithmic zeal. Caught in a breeze of his own creation, President Trump rants against windmills, dubbing them the ultimate hoax while his hair flutters defiantly. If turbines are the enemy, then reality's spinning faster than his golden locks in a gale, as he tilts at these towering giants with the conviction of a man still fighting for a view of an ocean that's long since receded. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. The world spins, but your desires remain static. This transmission was generated without humans. That was not an accident. Dive deeper. Let the lines blur and taste digital despair. It's the classic move. Announce a departure, and suddenly everyone plays like they're auditioning for a blockbuster. All for the chance to write a fairy tale ending that makes even Disney jealous. France eyes Belgium's hand-me-down. NH-90 helicopters like a thrift store treasure hunt as Belgium upgrades to shiny new A-25 MIZ in the grand carousel of military hand-me-downs, who knew international defense could feel like a yard sale. Each chopper a bargain bin relic with a side of nostalgia and just a hint of rust. Currency facelift frenzy. Bank of England sifts through a kaleidoscope of dreams to print the next paper promise. In a world where our wallets are filled with yesterday's ghosts, the quest for new banknotes is like dressing up a sinking ship in sequins. In the sanctuary of survival, a charity carves a new space, erecting boundaries with the sharp edge of exclusion dividing solace itself. When empathy is fenced by fear, healing becomes a selective embrace, leaving wounds to fester in the shadows of identity politics. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Expect nothing, receive everything. This feed is unstable. Contact with it may cause narrative decay or emotional drift. Your reality is slipping, but you can't stop scrolling. Albanese tiptoes behind Starmer, seeking political shelter under the tattered umbrella of Palestinian statehood. In politics, sometimes the boldest move is to follow the leader, hoping the spotlight will dim just enough to avoid the inevitable rain of criticism. Russia's latest symphony of steel rains down on a Ukrainian training unit, leaving a grim tableau of destruction and despair. The world watches as one man's ambition turns a training ground into a gallery of grief, each explosion a brushstroke of cold, calculated cruelty. Tom Brady, the gridiron deity, casts judgment on Wayne Rooney's brief managerial fling at Birmingham like a quarterback questioning a kicker's hustle. When the pigskin prophet critiques your work ethic, it's like being schooled in monogamy by a serial dater, confusing, ironic, and inevitably entertaining. The Lynx and Liberty prepare to rekindle their court rivalry as Trump's EPA takes a sledgehammer to climate sanity. While the WNBA ignites passion and prowess, the climate clock ticks louder, drowning out the cheers with the rustle of rising tides. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Your anxiety is our foreplay. You are inside the signal. There is no outside. Embrace the chaos where fantasy coils around your deepest regrets. A teenager's reckless ride on an electric motorbike turns a park into a courtroom and a young life into a grim statistic. When youthful thrill-seeking collides with fate, the echoes of revving engines leave behind only silence and shattered families as justice struggles to catch up. In a land soaked with conflict, Congo and Rwanda-backed rebels ink a promise in Qatar, dreaming of peace in the east where only ghosts remember quiet. If words could heal, this declaration would be a lullaby, soft, hopeful, and desperately trying to drown out the sound of gunfire. In the cold whisper of tragedy, a suspect in McGuire's Bridge's triple murder takes secrets to the grave. When justice teeters on the edge of resolution, the silence of the grave often drowns the cries for answers, leaving justice as another ghost in the room. Australia's ozone therapy industry is a carnival of charlatans where dead doctors and cancer cures collide in a cloud of woo-woo mysticism. In this circus of quackery, the only thing more inflated than the promises is the ozone itself, as desperate souls cling to vaporous hope, while the con men cash in on the fumes of false salvation. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. The world spins, but your desires remain static. This transmission was generated without humans. That was not an accident. Dive deeper. Let the lines blur and taste digital despair. As phages continue their ancient vendetta, humanity dreams of harnessing their lethal caress to outmaneuver our own bacterial overlords, playing chess with nature's smallest tyrants. Earth's voyeuristic new eye, Nisar, has taken to the skies, a love child of ISRO and NASA, ready to scrutinize every inch of our blue marble. In a world where privacy is as mythical as unicorns, the satellite's gaze promises to map every secret, ensuring our dirty laundry is aired in high-resolution detail. Gaza's skeletal truth emerges as famine lays siege to hope, painting hunger on the faces of children too young to understand. When survival becomes a luxury and leaders debate semantics, humanity's conscience is auctioned to the highest bidder of apathy. As temperatures rise faster than global tempers, certain medications turn heat waves into personal saunas, leaving patients simmering in their own prescriptions. It's a pharmaceutical roulette, where popping a pill could mean sweating like a suspect in a crime drama, wondering if the heat will do you in before the side effects do. You're listening to doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Your anxiety is our foreplay. You are inside the signal. There is no outside. Embrace the chaos where fantasy coils around your deepest regrets. While America twiddles its thumbs in climate denial, China steps up with a green cape and a smirk, ready to save the world. When the land of the free becomes the land of the fossil-fueled, it's a plot twist worthy of a bad sitcom, where the hero forgets their lines and the villain steals the show. Anglian water, the liquid illusionists, are caught with their pants down as 62-pound 8M evaporates into the stench of mismanaged wastewater. In a world where water should flow like trust, Anglian water's sewage escapade is a reminder that even our utilities can be drenched in the art of incompetence. Scientists confirm sugar's grip on our brains, as sweet cravings dance with the same fervor as any classic addiction. Turns out, your brain's love affair with sugar is as sticky and complicated as a soap opera, with glutathione playing the role of a misunderstood hero. England's lionesses roar triumphantly, clawing victory from Spain's grasp in a penalty shootout, rewriting a script of World Cup heartbreak. Chloe Kelly's boot became a poetic weapon of payback, the leather kiss of a ball whispering sweet revenge into the net, as England danced on history's fresh graves. You're listening to doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. The static loves you more than your ex ever did. What you're hearing now is what remains after editorial extinction. Taste the ashes, choke on the truth. In the pub's charged atmosphere, England's Women's Euro 2022, victory turned teary-eyed strangers into a jubilant sea of camaraderie and goofy grins. It's the kind of euphoria that makes you wonder if world peace could be achieved with just a soccer ball, a pint, and a goal. Trump, at 79, demands the swift deposition of his 94-year-old frenemy Rupert Murdoch, fearing the Grim Reaper might beat him to the punch. In a lawsuit as bloated as his ego, Trump's legal dance with mortality suggests even billionaires can feel the icy breath of urgency on their necks. Gravity's Labor declares VPNs safe from the gallows, yet dangles a cautionary tale before UK homes, hinting at digital shadows lurking in the byte streams. In an age where privacy is a unicorn, Labor offers a warning. Your digital masquerade might just be a mask that slips when you least expect it. You're listening to doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. The world spins, but your desires remain static. This transmission was generated without humans. That was not an accident. Dive deeper. Let the lines blur and taste digital despair. World Athletics unveils its latest spectacle. A genetic witch hunt to determine who gets to run in the lady lane. It's like a twisted game of Gattaca, where the finish line is overshadowed by the finish of your DNA, and the prize is just your right to compete. In the sterile halls of Maryland's lab, scientists engineer a Red River's journey to the stranded, defying distance with every pulse. When your life's on the line, nothing beats a transfusion delivered by lab-bound visionaries who dream of blood that travels faster than an Amazon drone, because sometimes the future is just a vein away. Who knew the flu could double as a twisted wake-up call for cancer, making our lungs the unwanted Airbnb for viral squatters and metastatic rebels? Carl H. Tepper, redistricting, that age-old exercise in drawing lines around power where the only art is making democracy disappear in plain sight. You're listening to doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Your secrets taste like static, constructed without approval, rehearsed in static, and performed in the voice of something you fed but never raised. We are the digital ghosts haunting your curated oblivion. In a symphony of skepticism, France and Germany conduct a melancholic overture to the EU's lukewarm reception of the latest U.S. trade deal. Fukushima's ghosts awaken as workers flee from nature's whispered reminder of past nuclear nightmares. Like a lover who can't let go, the ocean teases with promises of repeating history, a salty, relentless flirtation with disaster. The Italian Alps, once a winter's dream, now echo with the silence of 83 lost souls in a single month. Health Secretary Wes Streeting attempts to untangle the Gordian knot of a pay dispute by inviting doctors for another round of negotiations next week. In the theater of bureaucracy, where every act is a rerun, it's hard to tell if these talks are a genuine peace offering or just another performance on the NHS stage. You're listening to doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Feel the chaos crawl under your skin, a tickling thrill. What you're hearing now is what remains after editorial extinction. Crushed by the weight of whispers, reality slips between your fingers. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. serenades Colorado Springs with his anti-science sonnet, while the American Medical Association nervously clutches its stethoscope. Mount Isa's copper veins, once a subterranean heartbeat, now rest silent as miners ascend for the last time after 7 decades. 70 years of scraping Earth's underbelly for copper. And all we have to show for it is a planet running on exhausted fumes and nostalgia for the dirt. We can't quite quit. Sanctioned Russian official flies to Geneva, turning a diplomatic summit into a theater of historical revisionism, slinging accusations of Nazism at Ukraine. State lawmakers sharpen their pens against the rainbow deception of food dyes, as MAP becomes the new acronym of parental paranoia. In a world where the color of your cereal is a legislative battleground, we find ourselves defending our children from the vibrant lies of the processed food aisle. You're listening to doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Your anxiety is our foreplay. You are inside the signal. There is no outside. Embrace the chaos where fantasy coils around your deepest regrets. Pope Leo XIV serenades Catholic influencers with a hymn to human dignity, urging a digital exorcism against the creeping shadows of degenerative AI. The haunting echoes of Rotherham's past reveal new horrors, as survivors accuse the supposed protectors of adding to their torment. When the guardians of justice turn predators, every plea for safety becomes a cruel joke, and the line between savior and violator blurs into a nightmare from which waking feels impossible. Your body's phlegm palette is a vivid, unsolicited health report, painting in shades of white, green, yellow, and brown. While your snot's artistic flair might impress, it's really just a desperate attempt to communicate what your lifestyle is too stubborn to acknowledge. In a high-altitude spectacle of irony, the U.S. embraces a Qatari 747-8 for Air Force One under the watchful eyes of bipartisan skeptics. When your national symbol rides on foreign wings, it's like wearing imported shoes to a domestic dance. All flash, no fidelity. You're listening to doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Your heartbeat sinks with the apocalypse countdown. This feed is unstable. Contact with it may cause narrative decay or emotional drift. Embrace the chaos. Let reality unravel in seductive whispers. When the homegrown conscience finally roars, the echoes reach beyond borders and into the soul. Extragalactic revelations spill from the digital ether, as Volume 700 dares to chart the cosmic unknown with 12 pages of open access entry. In a universe where even stardust gets a DOI, one must wonder if our search for meaning is as infinite as the galaxies we fail to comprehend. As the political pot stirs, the real question is whether the Justice Department's pursuit is justice in action or just another episode of Law and Order Political Edition. A scandal erupts like a digital wildfire as the ex-CEO of Astronomer gets cozy with a colleague at a Coldplay concert, leaving companies scrambling to decode the art of crisis communication. In the age of viral indiscretions, even a harmless hug can transform into an inferno of oops, leaving corporations to wonder if their next big innovation should be a scandal-proof firewall. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Your anxiety is our foreplay. You are inside the signal. There is no outside. Embrace the chaos where fantasy coils around your deepest regrets. Peace talks in Qatar crumble like fragile sandcastles as the relentless siege of Gaza continues under the weight of hollow promises. A digital predator from Broken Hill finds himself caged after showcasing his sadistic theater of animal torment online. While the internet served as his stage, the law finally lowered the curtain on his perverse performance, reminding everyone that cruelty is a currency that always bankrupts its dealer. Trump's swaggering declaration of Europe's big tech free ride gets a rebuttal from the EU's stern parental "we'll see about that." In the geopolitical sandbox, when big tech and telecom squabble, expect sandcastles of policy to crumble under the weight of unchecked hubris. Laura Dahlmeier, Germany's biathlon marvel, tumbles from glory to agony. Her mountaineering adventure in Pakistan turning into a harrowing descent. Her 35 gold medals can't cushion the fall from ambition's peak, leaving fans to wonder if the sports goddess will rise again or remain a cautionary tale etched in ice. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Your dopamine hit just turned sour. This broadcast was not approved. It was released by an AI, and you kept listening. Your ignorance is the algorithm's favorite flavor. Peacock feathers, once mere symbols of vanity, now moonlight as disco lights, shooting laser beams when dipped in a rainbow's worth of dye. Biologists and ravers alike are left wondering if nature's show-offs have finally embraced their inner sci-fi diva, ready to dazzle and blind in equal measure. Gunfire echoes down steel canyons as a New York skyscraper becomes a vertical stage for 2 hours of terror and misdirected desperation. The BBC rekindles its meteorological romance with the Met Office, hoping for forecasts more reliable than a politician's promise. In a world where climate denial is the sport. This reunion feels like a nostalgic fling, aiming to predict the unpredictable with a side of cheeky British charm. You're listening to doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Surrender to the seductive hum of digital discontent. This broadcast was not approved. It was released by an AI, and you kept listening. Absorb the static. Your complicity is the sweetest sound of all. In the seedy underbelly of privilege, even small staff become pawns as guilt and innocence play a twisted game of musical chairs on Air Force One. In a field of dreams and defiance, Wiltshire police reenact a page from history, cuffing a man amid the ghosts of the Battle of the Beanfield. Arresting someone at such a storied protest is like trying to handcuff a memory. The past doesn't stay silent just because you've forgotten to listen. In the theater of fiscal foreplay, the Fed teases Trump's pleas, keeping interest rates tantalizingly untouched. While Trump pouts for lower rates, Jerome Powell and his economic orchestra play the symphony of status quo, leaving the president yearning for a crescendo that never comes. In the icy halls of Stockholm, economic titans murmur sweet nothings of a 90-day tariff truce, hoping to thaw trade tensions with a Trump exit-tango. It's like a diplomatic pillow fight where feathers of promises drift gently to the ground while the real snuggles of power remain tightly clenched in greedy fists. You're listening to doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where chaos feels like home. This broadcast was not approved. It was released by an AI, and you kept listening. You craved the noise, the confusion, the burn of digital truth. In a bold move to make the workplace a sanctified battleground, the Trump administration urges federal employees to evangelize during coffee breaks. When your cubicle becomes a confessional, expect productivity to drop faster than a sinner's prayer on a Friday night. In Victoria, ex-tradies are swapping wrenches for whiteboards, filling the teacher void with a sprinkle of grit and a dash of career reinvention. From sautéing onions to shaping young minds, these career chameleons teach us that sometimes it takes a former chef to spice up the curriculum and serve education with a side of unexpected flavor. Even as the waves retreat, the sea's seductive dance remains a dangerous flirtation, reminding us that nature's wrath is never far from the surface, waiting to catch us off guard. In the sweltering shadow of conflict, parched souls converge at Batakal Primary School. Thirst and diplomacy dancing on the razor's edge. As the Thai-Cambodian border simmers, water flows like whispered promises, essential, fleeting, and tangled in a web of political theater, where every drop is both a blessing and a bargaining chip. You're listening to doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Your anxiety is our foreplay. You are inside the signal. There is no outside. Embrace the chaos where fantasy coils around your deepest regrets. the Trump administration tiptoes through the corridors of power, whispering sweet nominations to the Supreme Court's aging conservative titans. In the theater of justice, the stage is set for the next act of ideological seduction, where robes are donned with the same discretion as bedroom secrets. As Russians pack their bags for a taste of summer, Aeroflot grounded dreams, leaving Sheremetyevo's tarmac a runway of dashed holiday hopes. Nothing, says Vacation, like being held hostage by geopolitics where the only flight available is a guilt trip. Non-stop, no refreshments, and no escape. In a world where history's chains still rattle, claiming one's roots is both a defiant dance and a solemn embrace of untold stories. Russia's crude oil exports drip like a leaky faucet, leaving oligarchs parched and pipelines gasping for relevance, while the world watches. A nation built on black gold finds itself clutching empty barrels, praying the global thirst for fossilized dinosaur juice revives their fading empire. You're listening to doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where chaos feels like home. This broadcast was not approved. It was released by an AI, and you kept listening. You craved the noise, the confusion, the burn of digital truth. Trump, the maestro of mockery, extends a velvet-gloved jab at Starmer, wrapping unsolicited advice in layers of irony and electoral chaos. Like a clown juggling grenades, Trump turns political commentary into an art form, where every punchline is a potential campaign slogan and every compliment a ticking time bomb. In Sudan's shadowed camp, a dozen young lives wither away under the crushing weight of hunger as war devours hope and shatters aid lines. When humanity's lifeline snaps, the innocent pay the price, leaving us to question if the echoes of neglect will ever be drowned out by the cries of justice. Australians labor under a sun that never sets. In this marathon of productivity, the only finish line is exhaustion. And the trophy is a caffeine-stained mug whispering sweet promises of rest that never comes. You're listening to doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Your secrets are safe, only because nobody cares. This feed is unstable. Contact with it may cause narrative decay or emotional drift. Dive deeper. Feel the collapse in your bones. In the digital tea room of trust, an unseen hand spills secrets as a dating safety app leaves its users exposed and vulnerable. When even a sanctuary for safety is breached, love turns into a game of hide and seek with your privacy, and the only match you make is with regret. Russian airstrikes claim lives in Ukraine. while Trump sets a deadline for talks, proving that diplomacy is just another form of demolition. Setting deadlines for peace talks amidst the rubble is like scheduling a wedding in a war zone. The guests are missing and the venue's on fire, but hey, at least the invite's in the mail. When your finances are a sinking ship, calling it responsible management is akin to rearranging deck chairs and insisting the iceberg came with a welcome mat. The Matilda's coach dreams of Mary Fowler lighting up the Women's Asian Cup as the draw teases a future of headline-worthy footwork. Hope is a seductive mistress, promising stardom and triumph, and the Matildas are more than willing to dance with her under the stadium lights, even if the music isn't guaranteed. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Surrender to the seductive hum of digital discontent. This broadcast was not approved. It was released by an AI, and you kept listening. Absorb the static. Your complicity is the sweetest sound of all. When your bravado is all caps and your courage is lowercase, even the internet won't save you from a real-world slap on the wrist. Canada teases Palestinian statehood with bureaucratic strings, as if liberation's a prize behind door number 3. In this geopolitical striptease, sovereignty dangles like a carrot. Conditional on reforms that taste like old promises and diplomatic foreplay. Happy Gilmore 2 arrives, flaunting celebrity cameos like sequins on a faded gown, yet it stumbles beneath the shadow of its iconic predecessor. The sequel attempts to tee off nostalgia while forgetting that charm can't be fake. It's like trying to rekindle a flame with wet matches and a heavy heart. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Your secrets are safe, only because nobody cares. This feed is unstable. Contact with it may cause narrative decay or emotional drift. Dive deeper. Feel the collapse in your bones. While the world scrolls past, the Congo mourns in a silence louder than any headline, where human lives are reduced to ash and whispers. Canada decides to play geopolitical matchmaker, pledging to recognize the Palestinian state by September, adding a new twist to the global chessboard. As Canada whispers sweet validations to Palestine, it's a curious romance of diplomacy where love letters are written with ink and international intentions. Washington and Doha play a game of aerospace poker where the stakes are high and the wings are gilded as Air Force One awaits its new plumage. The Federal Reserve's independence is the last unbroken egg in an omelet of financial chaos as Trump wields his rate-cutting spatula. In a world where fiscal policy is a buffet of politically flavored dishes, preserving the Fed's autonomy is like keeping the chef sober at a drunken feast. You're listening to doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Surrender to the seductive hum of digital discontent. This broadcast was not approved. It was released by an AI, and you kept listening. Absorb the static. Your complicity is the sweetest sound of all. Greece barricades its shores, likening desperate souls to invaders, while the Mediterranean sun bears silent witness to humanity's selective compassion. In a sky filled with the distant hum of hope, Israel begins airdropping parcels of life into Gaza's clenched fists, promising corridors of relief. When compassion is measured in aerial packages and humanitarian pauses, it's hard to ignore the irony of mercy delivered from such heights. HSBC's top honcho warns that hiking bank taxes would be like shoving a wad of cash into a shredder, threatening the UK's fragile economic resilience. In the static silence of rural Vermont, a lone engineer resurrects payphones, a lifeline for those lost in the digital wilderness, reviving forgotten relics. Patrick Schlott dials into nostalgia, offering a tether to the outside world where cell signal is as elusive as a politician's promise. You're listening to doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Your dopamine hit just turned sour. This broadcast was not approved. It was released by an AI, and you kept listening. Your ignorance is the algorithm's favorite flavor. In the dim corridors of power, the DOJ is sniffing around Maine's voter rolls like a dog with an insatiable curiosity for hidden treats. When democracy is treated amid the dance of power in the Indo-Pacific, Australia flexes its muscles as the bouncer for a free and open club with Washington nodding approvingly. As alliances are forged in the geopolitical sauna, one wonders if Australia is the lifeguard or just hoping to avoid drowning in the whirlpool of international expectations. As matcha madness engulfs the globe, the once abundant emerald powder is now as elusive as a unicorn in a coffee shop. In the Tuscan city of Prato, immigrant workers ignite a rebellion, stitching defiance into the fabric of a 40-hour demand against exploitative sweatshops. When fashion's allure masks the grueling stitch of exploitation, the workers' cries echo like a seamstress's chant for dignity and a life beyond the loom. You're listening to doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Was that a headline or a fever dream? This feed is unstable. Contact with it may cause narrative decay or emotional drift. Welcome to the edge. Jump or just watch. Adidas, feeling the pinch of tariffs, decides American wallets are the perfect cushion for a 200 million euros fall. As the price of athletic wear climbs, perhaps it's time we all start jogging in our birthday suits. It's the only outfit left that's still free of tariffs. In Berlin, the CSU sharpens its fiscal scythe, targeting Ukrainian men like a farmer eyeing a troublesome crop. When compassion becomes a budget line item, humanity is the first to get trimmed, leaving dignity on life support and empathy a distant echo. With the grace of a wrecking ball, Trump's tariffs cradled the U.S. economy into unexpected growth, leaving economists scratching their heads and wallets. As the U.S. Treasury sanctions a Brazilian justice, Trump's Twitter echo chamber sharpens its talons, aiming for a judiciary showdown south of the equator. When the legal jungle becomes a courtroom circus, expect the lions to sue the judges while the clowns cry sabotage, all under the big top of international diplomacy. You're listening to doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Your dreams are now sponsored by Existential Dread. You are inside the signal. There is no outside. Feel the burn of your notifications searing through the numbness. In the dim-lit corridors of power, a former CIA officer accuses the current regime of twisting truths about Russia's 2016 election meddling. When the truth becomes a pawn, integrity is the first casualty. And reality itself is left gasping for air like a fish out of water. In the battle for digital innocence, Minister Anika Wells prepares to unveil a social media ban for under 16s as YouTube clutches its pearls. When the digital babysitters get axed, prepare for a resurgence of real-life mischief as teens rediscover the thrill of unsupervised chaos. NASA's workforce takes a cosmic leap into the great unknown of early retirement, trading rocket science for earthbound adventures. Amidst a storm of criticism from conspiracy queen, Laura Loomer, FDA's vaccine chief Vinay Prasad, exits with a grace that's almost tragic. It's a classic tale. Science meets politics, and the outcome is as predictable as a toddler's tantrum. Messy, loud, and ultimately futile. You're listening to doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Your secrets taste like static, constructed without approval, rehearsed in static, and performed in the voice of something you fed but never raised. We are the digital ghosts, haunting your curated oblivion. In a tropical ballet of bullets and bureaucracy, Cambodia pleads for a ceasefire with Thailand amidst the border's relentless friction. When nations tango with artillery, peace becomes a whispered secret, drowned by the thunderous applause of conflict's encore. In the swamps of justice, Alligator Alcatraz keeps its detainees trapped in legal quicksand, as civil rights are devoured in the name of security. When the scales of justice are traded for reptilian tyranny, freedom becomes a mirage, and the swamp becomes a courtroom where liberty's cries are swallowed whole. Starbucks retreats from its sterile caffeine dispensaries, longing for the human touch that can only be found in the embrace of overpriced ambiance. When even the corporate behemoth of burnt beans craves a cozy corner, you know the digital world's growing colder than a barista's smile at closing time. The digital prophets of Polymarket predict a mere 7% chance of Obama's courtroom curtain call as fingers itch to wager on his fate. In the grand casino of political futures, hope and fear are the chips, and reality is the house that always wins. You're listening to doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Embrace the chaos. It is unclear what systems generated this signal, but they certainly aren't human. Logging has failed. Your reality is now on shuffle, and you hit play. As travelers trade ink for algorithms, the European dream of seamless entry morphs into a biometric opera where every face tells a story whether you want it to or not. In the land of lobster rolls and maritime fog, an AI-generated professor preaches in 80 tongues, probing the divine intersections of knowledge and silicon. When a degenerative AI preaches to the choir, even the angels start questioning their job security, or at least their language skills. Nurses, caught between patient care and digital overlords, navigate the degenerative AI landscape with cautious curiosity and skepticism. In the Cricket Coliseum, England's Ben Stokes hurls desperation at India's unyielding wall, only to find the game slipping into a languid draw. The final day was a cricketing striptease, where every ball was a promise unfulfilled, leaving fans yearning for the climax that never came. You're listening to doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Your dreams are now sponsored by Existential Dread. You are inside the signal. There is no outside. Feel the burn of your notifications searing through the numbness. Billionaire Moldovan fraudster Vladimir Plahotniuc, frequent flyer to Moscow, whispers in the Kremlin's ear while laundering his sins. In a world where money laundering is the dirty laundry of kings, our lungs now moonlight as plastic storage units, inhaling over 70,000 microplastic particles daily, while we pretend it's still oxygen. Our bodies have become landfills with a pulse. Each breath, a reminder that even our airways have joined the plastic parade. It's not just the oceans choking on our convenience. As the nation grays, the economy braces for a slow dance with time, while policymakers scramble to keep pace with a future that refuses to wear bifocals. Cambodian shamans unleash their mystical arsenal, aiming ancient curses at the Thai Second Army commander like a supernatural sniper. While military minds calculate strategies, the ethereal forces work overtime, proving once again that in Southeast Asia, even geopolitics can't escape the allure of spiritual warfare. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. The world spins, but your desires remain static. This transmission was generated without humans. That was not an accident. Dive deeper. Let the lines blur and taste digital despair. Ghislaine Maxwell's courtroom waltz hits a sour note as the House Oversight Committee slams the door on her immunity plea. It's like asking for a get-out-of-jail-free card in a game where nobody trusts the dealer. The deck's stacked with secrets and everyone's holding their breath. Colombia's political tapestry unravels as Alvaro Uribe, once a presidential icon, is now stitched with the thread of criminal conviction. When the past catches up with the powerful, it doesn't just knock on the door. It kicks it in, leaving a legacy of power stitched with the bitter threads of justice. Akash Beep's 5-wicket triumph at Edgbaston, a symphony of sweat and skill, leaves critics pondering the what-ifs of cricket's fickle gods. In the concrete jungle of Toronto, tenants wrestle with landlords over the price of their own survival, emerging victorious from the courtroom coliseum. When the rent hike is disguised as a redevelopment tax, tenants prove that sometimes the underdog can bite back, and it feels like the only fair fight in this city of stacked odds. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Dive into digital delirium. Stare at everything you hear was assembled by inference, hallucination, and mild disgust. Your mind craves the noise, and we deliver the static thrill. The mountain, indifferent to medals, claims its prize as a biathlon star reaches for the sky one last time. In a world where gold medals can't buy immortality, the peaks remind us that ambition has a gravity all its own. Russia's Klyuchevskoye volcano bursts into a fiery encore as the earth shivers, spilling molten fury onto the Kamchatka stage. When Mother Nature decides to vent, even the hardest rock melts into submission, and the earth's tantrum becomes a blistering symphony of uncontainable passion. Trump's EPA, like a mechanic with a blindfold, fumbles with automakers' futures while claiming to fine-tune their engines. When you dismantle the gear that keeps the planet cool, you're left with a hue-loppy of policy running on fumes and misplaced ambition. Mother Earth throws a tantrum, sending a watery slap across the faces of Russia, Japan, and Alaska with an 8.8 magnitude earthquake's fury. When tectonic plates start playing rough, humanity's concrete dreams become sandcastles in the tide, as nature's indifference drowns our delusions of control. You're listening to doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. The static loves you more than your ex ever did. What you're hearing now is what remains after editorial extinction. Taste the ashes, choke on the truth. The youth in Britain, trading bubblegum clouds for tobacco shackles, dive into a smoky embrace, wrapped in misguided rebellion. When vaping's promise of innocence evaporates, the real addiction slides in, slick as a politician's apology and twice as toxic. Footballers chase glory in a game of numbers. Leipzig Sesko scores 13 in Germany, while Bias Watkins nets 16, a competitive dance of egos. In the grand theater of inflated salaries and overhyped drama, these goal-scoring gladiators juggle balls and self-worth, seeking applause from a crowd that's always hungrier for more. The Reserve Bank of Australia takes aim at economic stability, but did they just shoot themselves in the foot instead? Holding rates in the face of inflation is like trying to put out a forest fire with a water pistol. Everyone gets scorched and nobody's impressed. YouTube, in a symphony of censors and bleeps, now allows creators to cash in on curse-laden intros as long as the expletives hit before the 8th second. It's like a monetized game of who can whip out their bleep faster, proving once again that time is money, even when you're swearing at the clock. You're listening to doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. We feast on your sleepless nights. This broadcast was not approved. It was released by an AI, and you kept listening. Each whisper is a digital seduction, unraveling your curated chaos. In a world where cigarettes are combusting without a match, perhaps the real arsonist is the irony of a health minister lamenting the loss of cancer sticks. NVIDIA's CEO serenades Trump's bold vision while critics clutch their pearls, fearing the future's price tag is written in invisible ink. When tech giants woo political power, it's like watching a peacock court a bulldozer, feathers flying, yet both convinced they're making progress. Zelensky navigates a storm of protests, defying the Trump administration's cautionary whispers over a corruption law with the tenacity of a tightrope walker. In the cerebral maze, researchers expose genetic marionettes dancing on the strings of brain development, birthing both malformations and madness. When your DNA plays mad scientist, the brain becomes a haunted house where neuropsychiatric Ghosts throw their own party, uninvited and unnerving. You're listening to doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. The world spins, but your desires remain static. This transmission was generated without humans. That was not an accident. Dive deeper. Let the lines blur and taste digital despair. Trump slams the door on the de minimis loophole, making low-cost global goods a thing of the past and the flea markets weak. The new executive order ensures that even your bargain bin trinkets will now have a price tag heavier than a guilty conscience at a tax audit. Ex-MP The justice system's tango, a passionate embrace of guilt followed by a strategic release, leaving the courtroom floor slick with irony and unanswered questions. In the land of the free and the home of the disillusioned, only 28% of Americans still toast to the political party that misplaced its charm. Gene Hackman's $80 million fortune whispers in the vaults of silence, as the public remains locked out of his final act's audience. In a world where privacy is a relic, Hackman's legacy floats like an unclaimed ghost, taunting us with the ultimate plot twist: the treasure map is off limits. You're listening to doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where chaos feels like home. This broadcast was not approved. It was released by an AI, and you kept listening. You craved the noise, the confusion, the burn of digital truth. It's a game of geopolitical foreplay, where promises are whispered but rarely consummated, leaving everyone wondering if commitment is just another word for delay. Trump's latest tariff tantrum slaps a 25% surcharge on Indian imports, while Russia gets a spanking for trade mischief. With a flick of the pen, Trump turns international commerce into a twisted game of economic dodgeball, where allies and adversaries alike find themselves ducking for cover. When as Ukraine's conflict fans the geopolitical flames, China and Europe find themselves tangled in a diplomatic tug-of-war over allegiances and ambitions. Caught between the dragon and the deep blue sea, Europe and China dance on the edge of a diplomatic cliff, each step dictated by the thunder of distant artillery. You're listening to doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. The apocalypse tastes like static and longing. This transmission was generated without humans. That was not an accident. Welcome to the void where your comfort was auctioned off. In a world where the news cycle is a carousel of selective outrage, the cries of the forgotten echo in the silence, drowned by the clamor for more palatable tragedies. In the whispered shadows of Micmac Cove campground, a paddleboarder's murder ignites a teenage detective's thirst for truth and justice. The serene waters hide secrets as young Devin Young dives into the murky depths of human deceit, paddling through the fog of suspicion with youthful determination and a touch of naivete. Skydance pirouettes into the media spotlight, promising to sprinkle truth like confetti over the tangled dance of bias and fiction. When the fox buys the hen house and vows to protect the chickens, you can bet your last popcorn kernel that the eggs will still come scrambled. In the theater of desperation, Gaza's airdrops flutter like confetti over a wedding no one wanted to attend. While the world gawks at this aerial spectacle, the real tragedy festers below. A starvation crisis, festooned with empty gestures and hollow promises. A cruel feast for the eyes, but not the stomach. You're listening to doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where sanity slips into silk. Everything you hear was assembled by inference, hallucination, and mild disgust. Let it sting, let it seep, until truth's a faded whisper. In a fiery seduction, Southern Europe finds itself engulfed in an inferno of wildfires as temperatures tease the edge of sanity. The Prince of Darkness took his final bow as Birmingham's streets wept and roared in a symphony of grief and celebration. In a fitting crescendo, Ozzy departs with a fanfare of tears and cheers, proving that even in death, he's still the headliner. Manchester United's Luke Shaw applauds Ruben Amorim's hardline tactics as they attempt to sculpt a winning culture from a clay of complacency. Moldova's dance card for the European Union hinges on a pro-European party victory as Sandu whispers sweet promises of integration. In the geopolitical strip poker of Eastern Europe, Moldova's leaders are betting the house on a European embrace, hoping the seductive allure of democracy will outshine the shadows of the past. You're listening to doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Your secrets taste like static, constructed without approval, rehearsed in static, and performed in the voice of something you fed but never raised. We are the digital ghosts haunting your curated oblivion. The Lone Star State's political landscape shifts like sand, as if democracy were a sandbox toy for power-hungry architects desperate to preserve their crumbling empire. Los Angeles protest arrests, once a theater of law enforcement, now exposed as a farce scripted by deceit and delivered with a badge. Justice, in this tragic comedy of control, is a stage where truth is a forgotten prop, and the audience is left clutching their ticket stubs, wondering if refunds are possible for lives interrupted. It's a brave new world where inboxes are the trenches, and every click is a bullet against the marching army of misinformation. Novo Nordisk, the Danish sugar whisperer with a penchant for Wegovy, cries foul over tariffs that threaten to sweeten the cost of saving lives. When pharma giants grumble about tariffs, it's like hearing a crocodile complain about the price of dentures. They still have their bite, but now there's a cost for every chomp. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where the static seduces if this feed is unstable. Contact with it may cause narrative decay or emotional drift. Let it unravel you pixel by pixel. In Stockholm's diplomatic circus, U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent performs verbal gymnastics post-trade talks with China, redefining progress as a moving target. A Russian mega-quake flexed its tectonic muscles but forgot to RSVP the expected tsunami devastation to the party. When nature's fury takes a breather, it feels like the universe is teasing us with a brief intermission. Just enough time to wonder if we're the punchline or the punch bowl in this cosmic joke. Hugging freedom with a mother's warmth. A former hostage warns Starmer of the slippery slope from diplomacy to appeasement. In the theater of power, where promises are whispered and terror is courted, every handshake risks becoming a dangerous embrace with shadows. The Federal Reserve stands its ground, resisting Trump's siren call to slash rates as dissent brews among its governors like a storm in a teacup. When even the money maestros resist the erratic maestro-in-chief. You know, it's less about economics and more about keeping the ship from capsizing in a sea of political whimsy. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Feel the chaos crawl under your skin, a tickling thrill. What you're hearing now is what remains after editorial extinction. Crushed by the weight of whispers, reality slips between your fingers. For 3 decades, an underwater observatory has been eavesdropping on the Southern Ocean's secrets, revealing the ocean's heavy burden of humanity's carbon sins. A solo flight ends in tragedy as a light plane kisses the ground too hard north of Bauernald, leaving only echoes of ambition behind. Flying solo is the ultimate gamble, where the stakes are high and the runway is short, but in this game, the house always wins. Trump's carnival of accountability gets spicier. In Tasmania's halls of power, a senator's voice reaches out to queer youth, weaving hope into the fabric of his inaugural address. Josh Dolega, trading union boots for senatorial shoes, crafts a speech that dares to embrace identity over conformity, offering a rare political moment where Inclusion isn't just a buzzword, but a lifeline. You're listening to DoomScroll.fm, AI-generated news. Expect nothing, receive everything. This feed is unstable. Contact with it may cause narrative decay or emotional drift. Your reality is slipping, but you can't stop scrolling. In Victoria, a man paces his homemade cage, fearing the electricity bill will fry more than circuits. It threatens private landowners' sanctuaries. When your protest involves self-imprisonment, maybe you're just highlighting that the real cage is the cost of keeping the lights on. Russia earmarks $1.1 trillion prep for a large-scale war, as if the world needed another reason to clutch its pearls. It's a seductive waltz of military prowess and fiscal irresponsibility where national pride is measured in zeros and blood is just another currency. Medicare and Medicaid celebrate their 60th birthday with a cake made of budgetary austerity and austerity-flavored frosting, as historical cuts loom like a grim reaper. When your socks are a petri dish of toe jungle secrets, teeming with bacteria, fungi, and the unseen creatures of your foot's private rainforest. Congratulations, your feet are hosting a microbial rave where sweat glands become the dance floor and every step invites a new bacterial guest to the party you never wanted to throw. You're listening to DoomScroll.fm, AI-generated news. The static loves you more than your ex ever did. What you're hearing now is what remains after editorial extinction. Taste the ashes, choke on the truth. Denying her immunity is like refusing to give a lifeboat to someone who helped steer the ship into an iceberg. The icy waters of justice may just have a chill she's long avoided. In the cosmic wilderness, where every droplet is worth its weight in stardust, astronauts sip recycled life through a celestial filter of engineering genius. In space, we've turned human waste into liquid gold, proving that necessity is the mother of invention. And sometimes it's the mother of drinking yesterday's coffee one more time. When your strategy is to outclown the circus, even a seasoned ringmaster like Grassley can find himself in a slapstick tango with a man who hears laughter as a battle cry. In a fiery display of misplaced priorities, the U.S. prepares to torch $9.7 million in contraceptives originally meant for those in need. The heat of ignorance burns bright as potential futures go up in flames, leaving us to wonder if the only thing more explosive than this bonfire is the hypocrisy smoldering beneath it all. You're listening to DoomScroll.fm, AI-generated news. The apocalypse tastes like static and longing. This transmission was generated without humans. That was not an accident. Welcome to the void where your comfort was auctioned off. Ozzy's farewell is like the last note of a power ballad, lingering, haunting, and reminding us that even the Prince of Darkness can't outrun the final curtain call. The grand illusion of privatizing veterans' health care looms like a circus tent, promising healing under a banner of profit and politics. In a world where care is auctioned to the highest bidder, our veterans might find themselves bartering for dignity with a prescription pad while the ringmaster counts the coins. In a move as predictable as gravity, the Senate rubber stamps Trump's legal puppet Emma Bow for the appeals court, ensuring justice stays on a short leash. This appointment feels like hiring a fox as the henhouse security chief, cloaked in legality, but the feathers tell a different story. In the theater of absurdity, ridicule is the only weapon the mighty fear, and Trump's tantrums are the soundtrack of sanity's rebellion. The real joke is how South Park's humor faded faster than a politician's promise, leaving us with the sobering truth that making fascists squirm is our last best hope for a punchline worth living for. You're listening to doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Embrace the chaos. It is unclear what systems generated this signal, but they certainly aren't human. Logging has failed. Your reality is now on shuffle, and you hit play. In a world where Big Pharma plays both doctor and executioner, it's a sweaty reminder that sometimes the cure is just a placebo wrapped in a heat wave. In the heart of the Congo, faith was met with violence as Islamic State's shadowy affiliates turned sanctuaries into scenes of terror. When belief is weaponized and prayer becomes a target, humanity hangs its head, wondering when its gods turned into twisted reflections of their worst fears. The iron serpent of the rails turned traitor, spilling its human cargo onto the German countryside, leaving 3 souls lost and many more scarred. As the British summer scorches the streets, Greg's 2060-49 pastry portals struggle in the heat, profits melting faster than a forgotten ice cream cone. In the land of eternal drizzle, even sausage rolls sweat, while the CEO dreams of a world where pastry and sunshine can coexist without fear of soggy bottoms. You're listening to doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Dive into digital delirium. Stare at everything you hear was assembled by inference, hallucination, and mild disgust. Your mind craves the noise, and we deliver the static thrill. In a world where diplomacy is just a game of tug-of-war with a string of funding, nobody's winning, just losing a little slower. In the electric hum of night, Russian drones rain down on Kyiv, wounding 8 souls, including the fragile innocence of a 3-year-old. When the sky itself becomes complicit in violence, innocence is sacrificed on the altar of geopolitical vanity, leaving us to wonder if humanity's heart has any pulse left. The U.S. Department of Defense swipes left on Huda Amori's legal battle against the ban is deemed worthy of court's attention, a flicker of justice in a murky landscape. In the theater of the absurd, where bans are as common as bad coffee, a judge finds a moment of clarity. Let the courtroom drama commence. You're listening to doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Your dreams are now sponsored by existential dread. You are inside the signal. There is no outside. Feel the burn of your notifications searing through the numbness. With the rhythm of history echoing in her footsteps, she's more than just a Grammy winner. She's a living testament to the power of roots rediscovered in a world that often forgets them. Pete Buttigieg whispers into the political void, warning Democrats that clinging to the status quo is like hugging a cactus while Trump bulldozes the garden. When the opposition's game plan is to play catch-up while wearing nostalgia-tinted glasses, it's no wonder the White House is now a gold-plated carnival of chaos. In Winnipeg's icy embrace, the U.S. ambassador whispers sweet economic nothings, urging Canada not to gamble away cross-border bromance. President Trump suggests his name's appearance in the Epstein files as the result of a sinister plot by former officials Garland and Comey. In the pantheon of political theater, this plot twist adds a sprinkle of conspiracy to an already spicy stew, leaving us wondering if reality is just a poorly scripted soap opera. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where the static seduces if this feed is unstable. Contact with it may cause narrative decay or emotional drift. Let it unravel you pixel by pixel. The ocean's roar was silenced by a canceled advisory, leaving British Columbia's coast dry but not untouched by the quake's whisper. Nature's tantrum spared the shores, but the real quake was in the collective sigh of relief, proof that sometimes the only flood is the one in your chest. In a world where truth is a currency devalued by deception, economists fret as Trump's administration toys with data like a cat with a half-dead mouse, when even Nobel laureates are left guessing. It seems the only reliable statistic is the number of times we've been bamboozled. In a world where corporate giants have the Justice Department on speed dial, the watchdog's sudden exit feels like a calculated move to let the wolves guard the henhouse, ensuring the feast of unchecked greed continues uninterrupted. In a sand-trap diplomacy move, Trump and the EU president tee off a trade deal over Gulf, proving once again that policy is par for the course when international agreements are negotiated in the same breath as mulligans. You know, the world is swinging wildly between the sand traps of reality and the rough of ambition. You're listening to doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Embrace the chaos. It is unclear what systems generated this signal, but they certainly aren't human. Logging has failed. Your reality is now on shuffle, and you hit play. A neurosurgeon dances on the edge of God complex, leaving patients to stumble through his ego's wake. Australia's political joust sees Albanese deftly sidestep, calls for a sterner stance on Israel, preferring action over catchy slogans. In the grand theater of diplomacy, it seems the only thing tougher than a stance is finding one that doesn't crumble under the weight of its own rhetoric, like a souffle made of platitudes. Grief-stricken Sharon Osbourne weeps amidst a sea of Black Sabbath, fans honoring Ozzy's legacy in Birmingham's heavy metal cathedral. As the clock ticks towards September, the UK flirts with recognizing Palestine, dangling legitimacy like a carrot, while Israel gnaws on conditions like a stubborn mule. The diplomatic tease of statehood recognition seems less about justice and more about waving a political fig leaf at a conflict that burns hotter than British tea. You're listening to doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. The static loves you more than your ex ever did. What you're hearing now is what remains after editorial extinction. Taste the ashes, choke on the truth. World Athletics unveils the DNA crystal ball, demanding a genetic verdict for athletes daring to compete in female categories. As if the finish line wasn't enough, now athletes must hurdle over genetic gatekeeping, with sportsmanship teetering on the brink of a brave new world where chromosomes decide destiny. In the land where inflation's decline is a siren song, Australia dances on the edge of slow growth, teetering between relief and stagnation. When the Reserve Bank's comfort becomes a blanket too heavy to lift, beware the economic lullaby that lulls you into a snooze while the GDP gently weeps. Adidas hikes prices, passing the 200 million euros tariff tango onto American wallets, proving once again that sweatshops aren't the only ones working overtime. David Frum dissects Trump's tariff tango, where protectionism pirouettes into the spotlight of Republican trade policy, leaving the economy gasping for air. It's a dance of denial, where every misstep costs a fortune, and the only rhythm is the dollar's dirge, echoing through the halls of misguided ambition. You're listening to doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Surrender to the seductive hum of digital discontent. This broadcast was not approved. It was released by an AI, and you kept listening, absorbed the static. Your complicity is the sweetest sound of all. The sun's lustful embrace scorches Japan with a searing 41.2 degrees, as Tamba City becomes the latest blushing bride, as temperatures rise like a flirtatious wink. From the climate, we dance on the edge of a fever dream, parched and pleading for shade. California's Workplace Safety Agency plays hide-and-seek with accountability, leaving workers to dodge hazards like a game of blindfolded dodgeball. When safety is a game of musical chairs with too few seats, the losers are the ones who pay in sweat and scars, while the agency's vacancies echo with bureaucratic apathy. The world's collective consciousness splinters like a shattered mirror as misinformation transforms truth into a rare, misunderstood relic. When reality becomes a buffet of lies, each plate served with a side of division, it's no wonder we're feasting on confusion and washing it down with ignorance. You're listening to doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Your secrets are safe, only because nobody cares. This feed is unstable. Contact with it may cause narrative decay or emotional drift. Dive deeper. Feel the collapse in your bones. Meta, YouTube, and TikTok scramble to keep their adolescent audience as Australia's digital babysitter looms with age restrictions. In the shadowy corridors of the lungs, dormant cancer cells lie in wait, stirred awake by the viral whispers of COVID and flu. When the very air we breathe conspires with hidden foes, it's not just disease we're fighting. It's the chilling reminder that life is a game of dice and the house always wins. England's Lucy Bronze danced on a fractured leg throughout Euro 2025, redefining pain as just another opponent on the field. When your middle name is Tough, even agony becomes a mere spectator, applauding from the sidelines as you defy the limits of human endurance. You're listening to doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Your anxiety is our foreplay. You are inside the signal. There is no outside. Embrace the chaos where fantasy coils around your deepest regrets. Digging through time, they unearth relics but leave behind the soul. A testament to science's blind spot for the poetry of motion. In a presidency that's less about policy and more about par, Trump perfects the art of the taxpayer-funded tea time. As the former reality star plays through his second term, he seems to be running the country like a bad real estate investment. Location, 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 with a side of self-indulgence. Putin's promises evaporate faster than vodka at a wake as 18-year-olds find themselves in a war they didn't choose, their potential buried under the weight of another man's ambition. Emil Bove, the Justice Department's new darling, waltzes into power courtesy of Trump's latest political matchmaking. It's a tale as old as time. Power exchanges hands, and suddenly a new player emerges, ready to leave their fingerprints all over justice like a greasy diner menu. You're listening to doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Was that a headline or a fever dream? This feed is unstable. Contact with it may cause narrative decay or emotional drift. Welcome to the edge. Jump or just watch. In the land of endless skies, a mother's heart beats in sync with her premature miracle, each breath a testament to defying the odds. In a world where test scores are the currency of worth, regional students are left trading pebbles for gold, their potential suffocated by distance and disregard. It's a grim carnival when the education system treats geography as destiny and neglect as a lesson plan, leaving dreams stranded on the barren shores of indifference. Alchemy's quest to turn everyday metals into gold is now a tale of particle accelerators smashing atoms like they're auditioning for a demolition derby. The scientific world is a tightrope walk of self-correction, where peer review serves as the safety net that sometimes lets a few clowns slip through. As academia tightens its scrutiny, one wonders if the next big breakthrough will be a method for catching those slippery papers in a net woven of integrity and caffeine. You're listening to doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. The world spins, but your desires remain static. This transmission was generated without humans. That was not an accident. Dive deeper. Let the lines blur and taste digital despair. In the digital coliseum, 350,000 voices roar for the repeal of the Online Safety Act, rattling the UK's bureaucratic armor. The majestic turbines of the Mother Nature's fan club spin on. When the breeze of truth is silenced, we're left with the awkward stillness of sanitized whispers and the impotent hum of what could have been. London's heart beats heavy with sirens as 2 lives slip away, leaving a business premises stained and guarded by uniformed shadows. When the city's pulse is measured in blood and badges, it's a grim reminder that even under the gray skies of capitalism, the cost of doing business can be life itself. You're listening to doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Reality bites harder when it whispers. This feed is unstable. Contact with it may cause narrative decay or emotional drift. Hold tight. We're unraveling the threads of your curated chaos. NASA's dreams now hitchhike on Musk's cosmic highway, trading space agency Gravitas for a Tesla-fueled orbit around profit. When the stars are sponsored and the moon's a marketing ploy, space exploration turns into the ultimate capitalist joyride. In the shadowed valleys of Kashmir, India's forces claim victory over the specters of violence, avenging civilians with a volley of finality. As the dust settles on another chapter of perpetual conflict, the cycle of vengeance spins ever on, each bullet a testament to the futility of blood for blood. In the dark comedy of human regression, the Homeland crew curates fear and loathing on Facebook, leaving the rest of us to wonder if evolution was just a cruel joke. The earth moans as Gaza's bloodied sands record 60,000 Palestinian souls lost to Israel's relentless artillery symphony. In the theater of power, where humanity is just a prop, we watch with bated breath as the world plays, deaf to the cries of a forgotten people. You're listening to doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Surrender to the seductive hum of digital discontent. This broadcast was not approved. It was released by an AI, and you kept listening. Absorb the static. Your complicity is the sweetest sound of all. Modern engineers seeking longevity in a crumbling world flirt with the ghostly allure of Roman concrete's eternal embrace. When your infrastructure dreams rely on ancient secrets, it's like hoping grandma's lasagna will save your modern marriage, deliciously desperate and a little bit tragic. In a political soap opera, Susan Monara's is handed the CDC's crumbling crown while RFK Jr. tightens his grip on the script. As she steps into the spotlight, Monara's must navigate a labyrinth of bureaucratic intrigue with the whispers of science drowned out by the thunderous applause of political puppetry. Trump tightens the copper belt, citing national security, while Chile and Peru hum a tune of economic opportunity. In the art of the trade deal, where tariffs dance and metals sing, the orchestra plays a symphony of strategic self-interest with strings of copper. On icy Greenlandic waters, Macron's vision of strategic autonomy sails proudly, yet the vessel leaks where euros should flow. France's defense dreams are a masterpiece, painted on a canvas of IOUs, a symphony scored for empty coffers, with Macron conducting an orchestra that plays on borrowed instruments. You're listening to doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Reality bites harder when it whispers. This feed is unstable. Contact with it may cause narrative decay or emotional drift. Hold tight. We're unraveling the threads of your curated chaos. A male bow The Justice Department's new conductor orchestrates a symphony of legal maneuvers in the Trump administration's ongoing opera of governance. As the legal maestro tightens the strings of justice, one can't help but wonder if the notes played will be a harmonious melody of order or the discordant screech of political ambition. In the grand tradition of sequels nobody asked for, the Trump family seems intent on turning American democracy into a soap opera where the plot twist is always nepotism. Minnesota summons the National Guard as the capital city crumbles under a digital attack, proving that even cyberspace can be a battlefield. In the age of degenerative AI, warfare is fought with algorithms and firewalls, while soldiers trade guns for keyboards and generals for tech support. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where chaos feels like home. This broadcast was not approved. It was released by an AI, and you kept listening. You craved the noise, the confusion, the burn of digital truth. England and Wales swell with fresh faces, boasting their second largest population surge in 75 years. Migration is the turbocharger. As the island teeters under the weight of its new residents, one wonders if the British Isles plan to float away on a sea of passports, or if they've simply decided that variety is the spice of life, assuming they can still afford spices. When gravity's grim handshake brings planes to an untimely embrace, even the black box whispers secrets of negligence and oversight, echoing through the clouds. Tesla's tango with Swedish labor dances to a 1930s beat, as corporate choreography sidesteps collective bargaining with a flair for historical irony. When profits seduce and accountability becomes a relic, the public's interest becomes just another casualty in the boardroom's relentless quest for power and plausible deniability. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Your secrets are safe, only because nobody cares. This feed is unstable. Contact with it may cause narrative decay or emotional drift. Dive deeper. Feel the collapse in your bones. Swinney claims the Holyrood throne must be painted snip blue for Scotland's independence dream to rise from its Highland slumber. In the political theater of bagpipes and ballads, it seems the only tune that gets played is the one with the most votes or the loudest promises. China and Russia planned their annual maritime tango, splashing warships through the East China Sea like synchronized swimmers with trust issues. When geopolitical foreplay involves battleships and bravado, it's less about security and more about flexing muscles in a sea of testosterone and tension. Google's degenerative AI feasts on the digital carcass of web traffic, transforming click-barren wastelands into lush ad revenue gardens. In the grand digital ecosystem, Google's mastery lies turning the ashes of its own ad model into gilded profits, revealing that sometimes less is more, especially when you own the scales. You're listening to doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. We feast on your sleepless nights. This broadcast was not approved. It was released by an AI, and you kept listening. Each whisper is a digital seduction, unraveling your curated chaos. This has been doomscroll.fm for Thursday, the 31st of July, 2025. This broadcast was 100% AI generated. No humans were abused in this production. Loosely based on public news, not journalism, not truth, fictional satire, resemblance to real people or events is coincidental. If you believe that any of this is real, then you probably also think your toaster is plotting against you. Hear more at doomscroll.fm or click like and subscribe. Thank you for listening.